Hi beautiful, welcome to my channel. In today's video we have new Obsessions palettes from Huda Beauty to try out. I am super pumped for these. These are the matte Obsessions palettes. She came out with a more warm version and a more cool tone version, and in today's video we are of course going to swatch them both. We're going to create a look with each one, and we're going to see if we have some colors that compare to these in the other Huda Beauty palettes. As you know, I have quite an extensive, I think, Huda Beauty eyeshadow palette collection. I have a ton of her Obsessions palettes, all of her big palettes, etc. So we're going to see if these are very similar to those that are already in my collection, and I am dying to create looks with these. I've heard the formula in these Obsessions palettes is supposed to be really good, and that is definitely something that I want to make sure about and take into account, because Obsessions palettes are traditionally very hit and miss. Sometimes the formula is bomb and sometimes they're a little bit of a disaster, so we're going to talk about all of that in today's video. If you're excited, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and let's go ahead and get started. First thing to note is Obsessions palettes have been $29 for a while now, and the price of these new Obsessions palettes is a little higher. These retail for $32 each. And the next thing is that I don't think Huda has ever released an all matte palette. Huda has had really amazing matte shades included in a lot of the palettes she's released throughout the year, but I don't really remember there being an all matte palette ever, so this is a little special. I really love glimmery shimmery shades, but I also can really appreciate an all matte look, and I know that there's a lot of you out there who are no longer comfortable wearing shimmers and glitters on the eyes. You feel like it accentuates texture and you rather have something all matte or with minimal shimmer. And so if that's you, I feel like these palettes might be a really good option. Here is what the exterior box of both of these palettes look like. These, like the rest of the Obsessions palettes Huda has ever launched, are made in China. Her bigger palettes are usually made in Italy, and so sometimes we see some inconsistencies with the Chinese formula, which again, we'll see whether or not that's the case. So let me show you the back of them in case anyone is interested to see the ingredients. You can pause the screen right there. As far as the actual packaging of the palette, let's start with the matte cool toned one right here. This is what it looks like, and take a look at the absolutely stunning cool tone shades. As you can see, we have some dusty pinks, we have some transition colors, we have some burgundies, we even have a little matte highlighter shade right here that we can use. And then here's what the warm version looks like, and once you open it, same thing. Obviously these colors are a lot warmer. We have some warm browns. I'm interested in trying this one and see how it looks. It looks like a very dark neutral brown, which is definitely exciting for me. And here's what they look like side by side in case anyone's interested in comparing the two. I think I want to start by swatching the warm one, so let's go ahead and go for it. Ooh, these feel very creamy. I'm excited. Let's go for the first row. Oh my god, that is so creamy. Here's the second color. This one's a bit less creamy, but still very creamy for a powder. This one feels like an actual cream, and this one feels a bit more powdery. And color number 3 here, also just a powder. So these actually have cream shades in them. That first shade in this warm palette, definitely a cream, and now that I'm looking at it closer, this shade down here, this transition color, is also a cream. Let's do row number 2. Here's the first color. It's a bit of a burnt orangey type shade. And then we have a lighter, more transition type color, and another orangey shade down here. This next shade is the other cream shade, which is a more transition-y type color, feels very nice. Then we have another orangey shade. I feel like a couple of these might be redundant, like that one and this one look quite similar. And this last swatch I'm very excited about because this is that super dark neutral brown and it looks incredible. So take a look right here at the swatches of the warmer matte palette. I mean, it is a monochromatic color story of all matte shades. So obviously, yes, there are some shades in there that are a bit repeated, like these two. There's a difference in depth, but they're very similar. These two, same thing. And the transition type colors, different textures and different formulas, but they look also similar to one another. So let's go ahead and swatch the cool tone palette next, and in this one the cream shades are in the first row, these two. Personally, I love palettes with cream shades included in them, and the drawback to that is that sometimes they expire faster than other palettes, but the expiration date on these is 24 months, which is kind of the standard for eyeshadow palettes, so definitely not bad at all. Let's go for the swatches. Here's the first shade. This is not a cream, just a very fantastic matte, and then here are cream shade number 1 and cream shade number 2. Already in love with this one. I love that they are similar, but they all have different undertones. Really like that about this. Here are the swatches of row number 2. So far in this one, none of the colors are redundant. I feel like they were a bit more similar in the warm palettes. We do still have 3 shades to go, so we'll see. Here's a highlighty type color, and then the last 2. Transition shade and a more neutral brown one. Yeah, I feel like the color story in this one, even though it is a monochromatic color story, is a bit more diverse. I don't see as many of the same shade repeated. Maybe this one and that one are kind of similar, but the rest of them all have slightly different undertones. So I definitely like that about this one, because I felt like some of the shades from the warm palette were pretty much the exact same as one another. With that said though, if you don't like shimmer shades and you're looking for a monochromatic matte palette with shades like these, I don't know that that will be something that will draw you back from getting it, because at the end of the day, if you plan on getting this palette to be your everyday palette, then you just have more of the shades that you love, you know? I'm going to hide my hair back here a bit, and once again I'm going to start with the warm palette over on this eye. So I think the first color I want to try is this cream, actually, because I'm excited to see how it works. So as you can see, I have my REPHR number 15 brush, and I'm really going to town in there until the bristles are covered, and I'm going to, with my REPHR number 15, just swipe back and forth on the crease of my eye with that shade to get a nice transition-y type color going on the crease. And I am buffing the top edge to blend it nicely. A bit more, and this one is a very light color. I feel like this could be a base shade for you if you have a darker complexion than me. So I'm going to go into the second shade, which is going to be this middle one with the same brush, just to see if this makes things a little darker maybe, and it does. See, these were some of the shades I called redundant when I swatched them. This is why it's important to use them, because I call these shades redundant, but you see how the other one was a very sheer light type color, and this one, even though swatched, they look super similar to one another. This one is giving me a little bit more warmth and a little bit more depth. So with my REPHR number 15, I am blending those 2 colors into one another. And now we have a little bit more warmth and a little bit more depth to the eye. Switching to a smaller blending brush, I think I'm going to go into this color here, this mid-tone brown, which as you can see, it seems to be very pigmented. It really covered my brush nicely. And I'm going to tap it on the outer corner and blend it in. You guys, I cannot wait to tell you more about this brush that I designed with REPHR. I've been using it in a ton of my recent videos. Whenever I say I'm using a smaller blending brush and I don't say what number it is, it's my brush. It's so good. It just blends everything out so nicely. I love it. Anyways, here we have this almost blended already because, like I said, it is bomb. And I am dragging... I love how good this blends. I'm just dragging the color in a bit. I'm going to also go in with this shade just to use as many colors as I can because I want to try them. And I'm going to stamp it right on the inner third of my eyelid and blend it into the crease a bit, just like that. And then I'm going to darken up the outer corner with the dark matte brown. Back here, just tapping it first. And then just blending here into the crease. I don't know why I decided to do a halo eye when I don't have any shimmers to put in the middle, but here we are. So I think I'm going to go with this creamy shade right here, the one I used at the beginning on my finger, and just tap it in the middle and blend it into the other colors to bring a little bit of light back to my eye. I didn't think this through because this would have looked really good with a shimmer, but we don't have any of those. Actually, I'm not mad. Now that I blended it in with my finger, that looks fantastic. And once I do my under eye, I feel like it's going to look even better. So with my REPHR number 13, I was going to go back to this color, but just to try one more shade, I'm going into this cream. And I'm going to blend it right underneath my lower lash line, connecting it back here at the end. And I think I want to blend that out with one of these warmer matte shades. So a little bit of that one, and we diffuse things further down here. And back with this light cream, I'm going to add a bit of it to the inner corner of the eye right here, because I felt like it was looking a bit dark in the inner corner. And this is a REPHR number 28 brush, by the way. Boom! All right, take a look right here at the first look with the warmer palette. I honestly love the way it came out, even without the shimmer in the middle. I feel like once I blended that out, it made the look make sense. So let's go ahead and move on to the other palette. I went ahead and added a very light creamy eyeliner to the waterline of my eye over here. And now we're really going to start on look number 2. My brushes are clean, and the first color I want to use is going to be this shade right here, the light pinky transition-y type color. Again, this is a REPHR number 15, and I'm going in the first half of the crease with it. Once again, I'm just doing this to use as many colors as I possibly can, so I'm going to do a different color on the outer half of the crease. This one is looking beautiful, it's blending beautiful, and for the outer half, I'm going to use this more taupey shade down here. Still using my REPHR number 15 brush, and they'll connect right in the middle, just like so. Beautiful. Switching to my smaller blending brush over here, I'm going to go into one of the cream shades, I think. I'm going to go into the Decisions. This one. I'm going to go into this one with my smaller blending brush, and I'm going to tap it. Okay, yes. Tapping it on the outer corner and then blending it in ever so slightly. Just like that. That cream shade blended amazingly. Same brush, I'm grabbing the other cream shade once again just to try as many as I can. And I'm going to put it on the inner half of my eyelid. These creams you don't even have to blend. They just go on blended somehow. That looks so good. Let me keep going. I want to go darker. I want to use the dark burgundy shade here. Why not? Same brush, and I'm going to pat it on the outer third of my eye, and then just blend the edges into the other colors. Again, that blended super seamlessly. I'm very impressed with these formulas. I haven't found any dots in here. All of these shades are performing amazingly. So with the REPHR number 13, I'm going into the warmer, not warmer, just more neutral color here. And just to try it, I'm going to blend it underneath my eye with my REPHR number 13 brush, just back and forth right down here. In comparison to how cool toned these shades are, that looks warm, but I promise you it's more of like a neutral shade. I wanted to try it though. I'm going to blend it out with the matte pinky color, still using my REPHR number 13. Also, this will help it blend into the other colors better because it'll make it more cool toned, I think. REPHR number 28, which is my favorite flat brush, and I'm going into this color once again, which is the matte powder light pinky shade, and I'm tapping it in the middle as my highlight color right here in the center, just like I did for the other eye look. I just feel like these types of eye looks allow me to use a lot of different shades at once. So right in the middle as my highlighter, and then back with the blending brush just to blend the edges. That honestly looks so pretty. If you, like me, are a fan of like burgundy shades, this is the palette for you. Same creamy shade of eyeliner for my waterline over here. And here is look number 2 before we put any mascara on or anything like that. The one with the Cool Toned Matte Obsessions palette, of course. So let me put on some mascara on both of these eye looks, and I'll be right back to tell you my final thoughts on these palettes and also to compare them to some of the other palettes that might be similar that I have in my collection. Okay, I'm back with mascara and with some lashes on both of my eye looks, and I also put on a lip liner. I had a clear lip balm from YSL on, which is this one here. I tried it like 3 days ago and I can't stop using it, right? So this is clear, but then I put the Rosewood lip liner from Anastasia around it. Me and these Anastasia lip liners were having a moment, I know. Rosewood lip liner from Anastasia around it, and on top of the lip balm I filled it in a bit and kind of created a lipstick that I really love. So that is everything that's changed since you've last seen me. Let me give you a final look at both of these. So I'm covering my other eye so we can concentrate on the one look with the palette. Here is my look with the Warm Matte Obsessions palette from Huda Beauty. I really love this color story. It is really beautiful, and all of the shades in both palettes performed just wonderfully. I don't remember the last time that I tried an Obsessions palette and I was this impressed with the formula. The formulation of these is beyond. It's so good. So here's my final look with the Cool Toned Matte Obsessions palette from Huda Beauty. That's a mouthful. And I really love this one with this lipstick that I created. I pulled out a lot of my other Huda Beauty palettes that kind of may resemble the color stories of these, and so we're going to put them side by side to compare. Obviously none of these are all matte palettes, so that's going to be the main difference you find between the two. And while I do feel like the bigger palettes have absolutely incredible formulas, just like these new matte Obsessions, a lot of these smaller Obsessions palettes formulas are not as good as these. Just so you know, I'll kind of go palette by palette and tell you what I think. And I don't think I'm going to do swatch by swatch comparisons, because I know that if I try to get these shades from these palettes, I will get probably very similar colors from them, but it's going to be one shade from each different palette. So I'm just going to show you what the palettes look like side by side, and if you have this one, you can judge by yourself whether or not you would want to get the Obsessions one. Anyways, here is the new Matte Obsessions next to the Naughty Nude palette from Huda Beauty. As you can see, this one has a lot of like dusty pinky shades that the big one doesn't. The big one is more kind of like burgundy focused, and then it's a bit more neutral as well rather than cool toned. And then it obviously also has all of the stunning shimmers in there. Here it is next to the Nude Rich from Huda Beauty. This one, once again, a bit more burgundy, a bit more neutral rather than cool toned, and it also has more reds in it, so they're quite different, I think. I was interested in comparing these two for sure. Here is the matte Cool Toned Obsessions with the Nude Lights. This is one of my all-time favorite Obsessions palettes right here. The formula in this one are also incredible. But obviously this one has shimmers in there and it doesn't go as deep and sexy as the Cool Matte Obsessions right here. This one has deeper burgundy shades and whatnots, but both of these are incredible. I love them. This one's kind of a stretch. I wasn't sure if this one was worth comparing, but I pulled it out, so here you go. Here is Love Fest versus this one, which, as you can see, pretty different. This one has a lot more purples in it and whatnot, and this Love Fest palette is good, but the formulas aren't as good as this one for sure. This one has really fantastic formulas. I'm very impressed with how creamy the mattes in these new palettes are, to be honest. Let's compare it to the Sand Haze, and this one, I don't like the formulas that much. So here it is side by side, but these formulas from the new one are definitely superior. One more I almost forgot. Here's the Rose Quartz palette next to the new Huda palette. The new one has more dusty pink shades and of course no shimmers. And I think that Rose Quartz is even more of a cool tone palette than the Cool Matte Obsessions is. Next, let's compare some palettes to the Warm Matte Obsessions. And the first one is the Nude Medium from Huda. Both of these have spectacular formulas, and honestly they're kind of similar to one another. This one has some more pink shades in it that this one doesn't. This one has the more orangey shades instead, plus this one has the shimmers, which this one doesn't. Not too far of a stretch, these two. This one is the Caramel Obsessions, which is not a palette that I love. The formulas in this one aren't great, to be honest, versus the Warm Matte Obsessions, which has incredible formulas, but also it has those really nice, rich, dark brown shades that I love. Okay, I pulled this one, so I'll show you it as well, but now that I opened it, they're not similar at all. Here is the Chocolate Brown Obsessions versus the Mattes Obsessions, and this one here is definitely a lot more neutral. Once again, I'm not a huge fan of the formula of this one. It's a bit patchy, which is definitely an issue that we don't have with the new ones. I really hope that those comparisons were helpful. If you want to see these compared to any other Huda Beauty palettes that I might have in my collection, let me know down in the comment section below, and I'll do comparisons on like my Instagram story maybe, or even my YouTube story in case you guys see that. I never post on there. So I can do some stories with further comparisons if anyone is interested. But anyways, here are my final thoughts on these palettes. I didn't really have the highest expectations coming into this video, being that the Huda Beauty Obsessions palettes are sometimes a bit hit or miss, but I am beyond satisfied with these little palettes and how incredible they are. The formulation of these Matte Obsessions palette is probably the best formulation she's ever had in any of her Obsessions palettes. And to me, the like gold standard for Obsessions palettes were the light, medium, and rich Obsessions. Those palettes have amazing formulation in them. Well, I have to say, even though these don't have shimmers, so they're not as fun, these formulas are even better as far as the mattes are concerned than the mattes in the light, medium, and rich Obsessions palettes. This is definitely the best matte formula out of all of the Obsessions palettes from Huda Beauty, and I love that she included the creams in here as well because it makes the palettes a bit more interesting. As far as the color stories are concerned, I do feel like you get a bit more variety of shades in the cool toned color story. The undertones are a little bit more different from one another, versus in the warm one you do get a couple of shades that look repetitive. But overall, I really did like them both. It is a matter of preference if you want the more cool tone one or the warm palette. These are incredible palettes. They're very travel friendly and amazing for everyday use. Obviously, if you already have palettes very similar to these in your collection and you don't need more of the same shades, don't buy them. But if you are interested in these color stories, or if you're looking for all matte palettes and whatnot, by all means, these are incredible. I really love them and I do highly recommend them. By the way, if you're interested in shopping for these, I have the links to the palettes and to everything else I'm wearing on my face today down in the description box of my video. So please check out the description box if you're interested in buying anything. Whenever you shop my links, it helps out my channel. And that is all I have for today's video. I really hope that this video was helpful. I had a blast playing with these shades on my eyes because they were just so amazing to work with. Everything blended beautifully, everything had incredible pigmentation, and I'm personally very satisfied with this Huda Beauty release. So yeah, if you guys like today's video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up before you leave. If you're new to my channel, please don't leave without subscribing. Let me know if you want to see more looks with these down in the comment section below. I love you guys so much and I hope to see you back in the next video. Bye.